Day 54 of the 100 Days of LeetCode. Yesterday on day 53, we did implement queue using stacks. I'm going to be linking that one in the description. Be sure to check that out. Today I'm doing implement stack using queues. Okay, let's get right to it. So we want to implement a LIFO stack using only two queues. LIFO basically means last in, first out. So basically a stack, the way it works is everything that gets put into a stack gets stacked up on top of each other. You can think about it like pancakes, right? The first pancake on the plate is the bottom pancake. Second, third, boom, 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 boom. But the first pancake that was put on the plate is going to be the last one that we remove, right? Because the last pancake that was put on the plate, last in, is going to be the first one that you eat, right? First out. Okay? So that's how you can envision a stack. So we want to implement the myStack class, basically have all the methods of that a stack has. We want push, pop, top, empty. So push, basically you push an element to the top of the stack. Pop, you remove an element from the top of the stack. Top returns the element from the top of the stack without removing it. And then empty basically returns true if the stack is empty, false otherwise. And you can only use standard operations of a queue, which means that you can only push the back, peek or pop from the front, size, and is empty operations. Those ones are valid. Now, we're going to be using Python, and we're going to be using lists in Python to implement this. So you can read that. So a lot of these operations aren't going to be called the exact same thing, but the spirit of what they do is the exact same. So the functionality is the same. So we're going to simulate definitely a queue. So here's an example. We can go through it. So we create a stack. We push 1. We push 2. The top returns 2, right? The pop returns 2 again because now we take it away from the stack. And the empty returns false because we still have 1 in the stack. Okay, so let's start. So we need 2 stacks, which again are 2 queues, excuse me, to implement the stacks, and they're going to be represented as lists in Python. So we're going to do self.main equals an empty list, self.helper, again, equals an empty list. Okay, so now we're going to push. Okay, so this one's pretty easy. We're just going to say self.main.append x. Okay, so with list in Python, it's called append. But this is basically pushed to the back of the queue. It's essentially what we're doing. We're putting it right to the back of the queue. The queue gets longer and longer as we append more and more. And let's write the other method that's very easy, which is the empty method. We're just going to return self.main equals empty, all right? Or empty list. So if it's an empty list, we get true. If it's not an empty list, we get false. Yeah, okay. So the reason why I called this one main is because this is basically going to hold all our data for the most part. And, the helper stack, or the helper queue, excuse me, is going to be something that we basically use so that we can get the correct results out of this pop and this top method. So now let's write it. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to iterate through the or not through. What we're going to do is we're going to use the length of the main queue as the value that we're checking in our iteration. And the reason why we're saying greater than 1 is because we want to leave one item in the queue so that we can access it and return it. Okay? And the reason why we have to do that is, of course, because we can only peek or pop from the front. We can't just get the item from the back of the queue. That'd be cheating. So that's why we're doing it like this. And we're just going to take all those items and we're going to put it in the helper queue. Dot append self.main.pop pop 0, right? So pop 0 is basically pop from front. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, some of these methods are going to be called different things, but we're staying true to sort of the spirit of the question. So, okay, that iteration is good. Now we're going to create a result variable and do the last pop 0 from main and put that in the result variable. Okay. And we're going to return result down here, of course, but after we put all of the values in the helper list, the helper queue, back into the main. Okay, so now everything's said and done, and basically our main queue is the exact same, except we do not have our last item in it, right? And because we're implementing a stack, that's what we want to do. We want to basically take off the last item of the queue, the item at the back of the queue, which in our stack would be the top of the stack, right? Okay, so this method's good. For our top method, we're going to do something very similar, except we can literally copy and paste our code, but since we're not actually removing anything, we have to put the result back into our system of queues. Okay, so we're going to put our result variable that we put back here back into our helper queue, which then through this loop will go into our main queue. Okay, and that code should be good. There you go. So that's how you solve that one. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and that was day 54. We'll be back tomorrow with day 55. Take care.